Okay, well, hi everyone, this is me, and this is a stack of books that I read or attempted to read in September, and then a few honorary mentions, which I just spoiled, that I will talk about in a second. So, September was a very busy month for me because I had exams until the 4th, and then I flew from Belgium to Sweden to move here on September 11th. And then I started, I had to move and unpack and set up the apartment. And then I started my new job type thing at the end of the month. So, reading wise, it didn't go very well. Um, but I did, but we're going to talk about it. So, before I start that, I just wanted to quickly mention a few things. So, I don't know if you've seen my first video that I posted, probably not, but just to say that I'm kind of implementing some reading guidelines that will work on a monthly basis in an attempt to get some traction on my physical TBR, so books I own that I haven't read yet. And so I'm calling them guidelines because I'm reading for fun. No one's forcing me to read. It's an activity I should be enjoying. So there's no point of like adding rules and restrict myself like and restrict myself unnecessarily. I do, however, still want to get some traction on my TBR, and as I mentioned in that first video, my first priority is to not have the TBR being stagnant, in the sense that most of the books on there have been the same for at least 2-3 years. So I want to get some of those read, and if they're either not replaced or replaced, I'm not really worried too much on the actual final number. If, having said that, given that I'm probably going to move from Sweden in a year or so, I honestly, it's all up in the air. I don't know. But given the fact that I'm very likely going to move, if not from the country, I will have to move within the country. If I can get the number of books I own down, that would also help with moving, but it's not exactly a huge priority right now. It's more of not having that to be read pile so be so stagnant. It is too much. I will say it is too much for me. It's still about 69 books. So if I can get that under or a bit under control, that'd be great. But it's not the end of the world because, as I said in my other video, probably many times, the access I have to English books in a certain time is not guaranteed. So, for example, here in Sweden, from all the places I've lived, I have the most access to English books, and I want to take advantage of it. So if I end up having to move 70 books that I haven't read before, and I'm moving to a country where the accessibility to English books is less, then I'm probably going to read those books then. So it's not the end of the world. And honestly, I don't know what the future holds, so I'm trying not to get too caught up into it. But having said that, very huge introduction. My guidelines are that so I'm saying this because it's relevant to what you'll see here, and I want to sort of hold myself accountable to a certain extent. If I don't do something, it's not the end of the world. Like, this is not a negative reward system, and if anything, it's a positive reward system. So my sort of three guidelines is that I have a subscription from the English bookshop here in Sweden. They do ship, I think, internationally. So if you're in Europe, I recommend this. Absolutely, you can. I recommend a subscription. You can pick. So they have 8 different genres, and you can pick to subscribe to one genre or. Basically, you subscribe to each genre. So if you want to subscribe to more than one, you would have to subscribe individually to each one. But you get one book a month. It's 100. It's 150 Swedish crowns, which it's about a little less than 15 euros per month if you get a 12-month subscription, which is pretty good. You get a paperback, and I don't know, I love them. I love the being surprised element and the fact that I might get a book that I wouldn't have necessarily picked up myself. Having said that, I did chicken out and I did get the fantasy subscription because I'm more flexible with what I read in the fantasy genre. And given that I have all these books already and most of them aren't fantasy, I thought it would be something that would guarantee it's more of a guarantee that I'll read the fantasy pick in the month I get it than if I were to get something else that I already have a lot on my shelves of. But yeah, so anyway, guideline number 1 is that I read that book in the month I get it. And then guideline number 2 is that I have to read one book from the books I own. And then guideline number 3 is that I'm allowing myself to go once a month to the bookstore and freely browse and pick up something that I want to read at that point in time when I buy it, and then make sure I actually read it when I purchase it. So September was a soft launch of this system, but moving into October, it will be more strict since I'm getting my sea legs, let's say, for Sweden. So yeah, let's get into it. So first book, so this is, okay, just quickly. So then that's 3 books a month for which I have a guideline for. I would say minimum I read a book a week. If I probably read more than that, but the best, like, let's just say worst case scenario, unless I'm in a huge slump, I read 1 book a week. So then that means I have an extra book to pick from the library or from my stash or like wherever the heck I want to read from. And I do find you're going to say, oh, you're only reading 1 book a month from your physical TBR, and then you say you want to get the number down, and you're still buying new books. Yes, the thing is, I know myself, and I know that if I read that 1 book, I am still more likely to read more books from the books than I own if I leave that then open and sort of just have the starting point. Then if I say, okay, I have to read 4 books from my physical TBR this month, I'm not going to do it because I'm going to feel too restricted. So I'm just, as I said, reading is a hobby. No one's forcing me to do anything. It's completely up to me. So those are the guidelines. So yeah. Okay, so let's start. So this is sort of so this is The Poison Song by Jen Williams. If you were following me on Instagram and then found this YouTube channel, I'm talking about this like I have a gazillion followers. I think I have like 9 followers on Instagram, but anyway. So I was reading the Ninth Rain trilogy, so this is the 3rd book in the series, and I had it checked out from the library back in Belgium, but I didn't finish it before I left, so I left it halfway. So I immediately went to the library and was looking for this book when I got here because I wanted to finish it. It's just been sitting here. I didn't get around to it in September, but I will for sure read this before it's due back, which is I think the 17th of October. So in all honesty, I'm filming this video on the 10th of October because I got sick and life got in the way. So I have a week to finish this. I'm probably halfway through. It's not that big a deal. I just don't want it to end. And I have a feeling it's going to have a bit of a sad ending. So anyway, but I am officially a Jen Williams fan. I loved this trilogy. The first book was a bit like, it was like setting up the world and everything. So it was a bit slower. Not slow bad, but a bit slower. And I really enjoyed it. But I wasn't like, like recommending it to everyone I saw. But then having worked my way through the trilogy, I'm going to read everything Jen Williams has written. I think she has 1 more trilogy and 1 more duology, and then she recently came out with a new YA book, which I'm a bit on the fence about, but I will give it a go. But anyway, excellent trilogy, and I don't see it anywhere on the internet, so, well, that's not true. I did see it a few times after I started reading it. I think, who saw it? I saw it on someone's bookshelves on YouTube. I can't remember now. But anyway. Okay, then the second book I got from, maybe I should do this differently. Okay, well, no, let's just go for it. Then I had read this book from the library because of all the busyness of September, I wanted something easy, so I went for A rom-com, even though I kind of knew I'm in a rom-com slump, like I'm so over them at the moment. So, like, my review of this might be colored by that. And some things I say for this now might be more of a reflection of the whole genre and not this book itself or the author or anything. So, take this, what I'm going to say, with a grain of salt regarding this book. And to be fair, I did DNF it. So anyway, this is A Dash of Salt and Pepper by Kosoko Jackson. I think I got about halfway through. That sound, maybe even more. Like, I think I got like page 200-ish. Yeah. And then I was like, okay, I can't do this anymore. so yeah, it started off very nice. I was super excited because it's written by a male author, and I was like, okay, I don't know if I'm just not as diverse as I think I am in my reading, which I'm probably not, but I've never really seen a lot of books of this genre written by male authors. And it's a queer romance, and I was like, okay, cool, this is gonna be cute, and it's, and it has cooking in it, which I don't know, I love when there's cooking and small businesses kind of thing involved. But yeah, it was not working for me. So, well, it has this standard main character is down on his luck. He's been fired from his job, and then his boyfriend left him, and then he had to poor him move back in with his parents in this tiny small town in the middle of nowhere, which he hates. And I'm like, okay, great. I've seen this story 50 billion times. At least it's not a woman that's being completely at her lowest and taking advantage of, which is not really, that's how I was trying to get through it. And that trope is not a bad trope if it's done well. I just don't think this is the case here. This sounds horrible. Anyway, so, and the whole book, this main character was like, oh my gosh, I have an MBA, and like he kept saying the schools he went to, like every 2 pages, he was telling us he went to NYU, and I forgot, and Chicago, I think. See, I read this like 3 weeks ago, but I think he kept saying, oh my gosh, when I did my MBA here, and now look where I am in this tiny town, and like blah blah blah, and again and again and again. I'm like, okay, dude, I get it, you are educated, let's move on. That was the one thing. The other thing was that he was talking about, like, I understand, because I also left this relatively small town in the scheme of things to move abroad. I understand the feeling of needing to get out, or not get out, of like exploring the world and finding somewhere that's not so, let's say, I don't know how to explain it. How to be so like not close knit, but somewhere that's like this is tiny, like I understand the feeling of wanting to go somewhere bigger where there's other opportunities, other possibilities, things like that. But I don't, maybe it's just my personal preference. I still have a soft spot for my hometown. I still miss it. I still like want to go back. Okay, I realize I'm in a different country, so it's not the same as within the same country as well, but still. But this guy was talking about this town like he didn't grow up in it, and that's what really irked me a little bit, is that he lived there his whole life, like until he went to college. He's like, what, 26, I think. It's not like, he's 70 and he was gone for like 50 years. He was gone for 5 years. In a small town like that, it's not like everything's gonna suddenly change. But anyway, he was treating it as if his parents had moved there recently and he was like visiting them, and not as if this is the town he grew up in and like where he had his sort of formative years. And I'm like, you must have some sentiment for this town. Like, even if you hate everyone in this town, you must have some sentiment for like a specific tree or something, or I don't know, like somewhere. Like you didn't go to a park for like, I don't know, like it just seems so weird to me. It seems so removed from the town, and the whole point of a small town romance is the charm of the town, I think, as well, and at least for me. And it just seemed like it didn't seem realistic. Like, I understand not being like he wasn't back there by choice, and I understand that, but Like, there must be some sentimentality. There isn't, like, come on. So, anyway, and the whole time I was like, oh, poor me, I'm so basically what I was getting is like, I'm so overqualified for this town, I can't be here. I'm like, blah, blah, blah. And then he has his best friend who's in this town, who, by the way, he never went back to this town in 6 years, and his best friend lives there. Like, and you didn't even fly back to see anyone for like a week. Like, what? Come on. It just seems so unrealistic, and it's so like very detached. And that's especially like I understand like that's a perfectly good plot line, but not in a small town romance. Because at least for me, the whole point of a small town romance is also a big part. Like the town itself is a character. So yeah. Anyway, then my other problem with this book is the age gap. Like I'm not a person who has problems with age gaps in general. If they're written correctly. I know I'm going to say that phrase a lot. And written correctly is also subjective to the reader. Other people might have loved this. Like, I don't know. It's just, it seems. So this guy's 26, I think. And then this guy's like late 30s. Which is perfectly fine. The problem is, not the problem. That's not a problem. This guy has a 14-year-old daughter. Which is also perfectly fine. But my problem is that their dynamic, a lot of the time, I felt like the older guy was treating the younger guy as a child. And also, it's not just me, it's very clearly, like, he at some point is like, stop talking to me like I'm your dog, like, and like, that's just weird. You say that, and then 5 minutes later, you're like, getting down in the back of a truck, like, come on. It's a bit, I don't know, it rubbed me the wrong way. So yeah, that was, and also this guy was making jokes all the time, which it wasn't really my type of humor. But okay, I could live with that. But the problem is this guy kept bashing him about his humor the whole time. And like I get it might have sort of was supposed to come off as playful maybe, but it just felt so like demeaning. And I'm like, what are you doing? So yeah, another problem I had with this book was that every page had some sort of cultural reference, and I don't mean like a really, 21st century, even like 2020s cultural reference. And every page, I was honestly thinking like you can use your own words to describe a situation. Because every time someone was feeling something or something happened, the way it was described was by comparing it to a pop culture moment. And I'm like, come on, what is this? Why do I keep saying I'm like all the time? But it was just like I felt like there's no originality in this. Like it started off like the first few pages, I was like, okay, this is funny, this is cool because this guy overthinks a lot. So the way his brain was going was like making sense, and it was written in like a funny way. But after a few pages, I was like, no. So yeah, that's my problem with this book. But again, I'm saying it's not necessarily this book specifically. It's also because I'm getting in a slump with romances because I feel like they're all overdone and like the same tropes, and the books are written just to fulfill the tropes, and there's no like emotional connection, there's no build up, there's no I don't know. Like the characters half the time I feel don't know each other at all. Other than like they know each other's like I don't know, defining trauma, but then they don't know anything else about these people. And I'm like, did you guys fall in love with each other based on the fact that one of you was abandoned as a child and the other one had to like raise their sibling or something? I get it, but that's part of a relationship. But like, anyway. Okay, let's move on. How long was I talking about this book? We're at 19 minutes of filming. Okay, so then I'm afraid this might be the case for all these books because it was not a good reading month, guys. So then, anyway, This is Someone You Can Build a Nest In by John Wiswell, and this was the book subscription book. So this was the first one I got for the fantasy series. And I was so excited about this because I had never heard of it. And then I went to the bookstore and the bookseller was like, "Oh, I don't usually read fantasy, but this one was so good and I loved it, and like you should wait and buy and get it," because it was out of stock when I subscribed, and I had the option to pick another one of the genres, but she said like recommended I wait, and I was like, yeah, that's fine. And then I also read the synopsis, and it was supposed to be like this gory, horror kind of creepy, weird love story. It's also sapphic. And I was like super excited. But I again DNF'd it. It's just, honestly, I didn't give two hoots. I don't think I've ever said that phrase before in my life, but here we are. I did not care one bit about the characters of this story. They were completely, like, I honestly don't care. Like, seriously, I couldn't read it anymore. I just did not care at all. Because also, this is at the core of it, this is a love story, and it's used, so, okay, let me explain what's going on. So, there's this monster who, well, the humans call her a monster. And it's this creature who's like a shapeshifter, so she can assume human form, but really she exists most in her normal form is like this squishy blob, but she can like ingest bones and stuff and, you know, make shapes and shapeshift, which is fine. Like I that's a cool premise. And I really did, it is quite gory. Like they don't shy away. So when they explain this process of transformation, the author doesn't shy away from like the disgusting stuff. Which I think it's good, but I don't think it was done as well as it could have been in that regard. And also it kept mentioning like it over mentioned, I'd say, bodily discharges, and that's like I'm fine with gore and blood and like I don't know, heads being cut off or whatever, but I cannot stand constant talk of, you know, secretions of a certain kind. And maybe that doesn't bother someone, but I felt it was too much. But anyway, that's not really the deal breaker. It's really that I didn't really care about the characters, because the whole point of this book is that it's a love story between a monster and a human. So then the monster takes on a human form, and she meets this human and they fall in love. And then she finds out that the human is really looking for the monster because she wants to kill her, because apparently the monster set a curse on her family, but the monster did not set a curse on her family. So they're trying to navigate this situation. But the thing is, another thing, so like you would expect that there'd be some sort of like, again, emotional connection or some sort of discussion. Like the point of the book, I think, is to be a discussion of like prejudice and humans, sort of this anthropocentric way of view, whereas humans are like monsters, but then they, in the sense, in like nature, they're like monsters in the sense that we kill things to eat, we kill each other, um, we do all these like, you know, shitty things. Am I allowed to say that on the internet? Sorry. Crappy things to each other, and then we blame quote unquote monsters in nature, like I don't know, wolves or bears. Okay, and that's not the case here. So that was kind of supposed to be the point a little bit of how people, like how we perceive a little. There was like these critiques on humanity, and from the perspective of the monster, and their yeah, this sort of sense of otherness and overcoming otherness and using the relationship between the monster and the human to achieve this. But my problem was like, okay, I will say the critiques. So they were trying to, they were these critiques of humanity through the eyes of the monster, which were on point most of the time. But I felt like the author was trying to give like a non-human view on humanity, but the monster itself had all these human was I don't think it was as detached as it could have been. It was still a very anthropocentric way of thinking. Um, from the monster's perspective. Okay, maybe I'm rambling now. And I know that's not exactly the point of, I mean, this is a cozy fantasy. I'm not expecting it to be some, philosophical manifesto. But, like, I don't know. It just wasn't working for me. Like, you can't have it both ways. And the other thing that really irked me, because this is the whole point of this book, it's the big point is the love story. I think it's marketed as like a gory romantasy. And basically, these people like decide they're going to spend the rest of their life together. Literally 5 minutes, not five. Sorry, like they meet an evening, and the next morning they're like, "Okay, I'm ready to like spend the rest of my life with you." And I'm like, "What? Your whole point is to of this book is to like shine a light on the judgment of otherness, but then you make this relationship that's supposed to represent that be basically instantaneous like lust love type thing, because half the time the monster is also so her species reproduces by burying. That's why it's someone you can build a nest in. I don't know if this is a spoiler. I don't think it really is. By burying their eggs in this other person, and the other person like sacrifices themselves or something, I don't know, to like protect the eggs and whatever. So the monster's point of view of love is literally someone you can build a nest in, so someone you trust to like make your children out of. And it's kind of because and that the whole like so it leans more into, I think it's more lustful. Like the monster all the time is attracted to the human's quality to like, grow her eggs, which is part of a relationship. I'm all for lust. That's fine, but it was only lust. I anyway, I'm rambling again, but this was just not for me. But to be fair, I don't think I'm the exact target audience for this either. I had high hopes, but I don't, yeah. It's not something I would have bought in the store myself, so that might also be an indication. But yeah, yeah. I don't know if what I made any sense. I need to articulate myself better. But there was that. Okay, and then I did cave in and I bought Lie Sleeping by Ben Aranovich. I think this is the 7th book in the Rivers of London series, and I was reading this from the library again back in Belgium. And I didn't find it at the library here, so I was like, okay, I need to finish this book. It's driving me crazy. I'm just going to go buy it. And then I Googled it last night. I mean, I logged in online now that I have a library card and found it. And I could have reserved this from the library. I must have missed it. But we're in it now, so I'm going to continue buying the rest of the series. I won't go back and buy books 1 to 6 for the time being, but I will probably buy the next ones. So, another exception to my guidelines is that I can buy the next book in a series I am reading already, if I already own a book in that series. So, for example, now that I have this book, I will buy the next few. And I don't have many series at the moment, so it's just this one. And then I have a duology for which I have the second book, for which I want to buy the first one. And then I have another trilogy that I have the first and third books of. So once I read the first book, if I like it, I will purchase the second one. And once I'm done with these series, I will probably have one ongoing series at a time, although I'll probably read series from the library. We'll see. But anyway, that's the exception. But on the other hand, I can only buy, the limitation to that exception is I can only buy the next book in a series if I have read the previous one. So yeah, anyway, so I bought Lie Sleeping and I read it. Standard Rivers of London novel. There's not much to say about it. It's like a nice urban fantasy. It's witty. There's political commentary. There's social commentary. It's funny, like British humor funny. And it's a nice supernatural mystery thing set in urban London. It's a fun time. And in the first books, if you've seen my Instagram account, again, I doubt you have, but the first book, Rivers of London, I was like almost didn't continue the series only because I found in the first book the way the main character was looking at women was like extremely unrealistic and only looked at them as not, well, I don't know if it's unrealistic, but the way they were described through the eyes of the main character was just constantly based on their attractiveness and like the fact that he wanted to, do something with them. I think I don't know if the character grew out of it or if the author changed his tune, but after the second book, it's almost non-existent anymore. So it works. It's fine at the end of the day. Looking back, I do think it might have. Well, the first book was written in 2011, also, and now the series is still ongoing. Like there was a new one published in 2025. So I think it's probably a combination of both. But you do see the main character also growing up and getting in a serious relationship and so forth. So maybe that's also, I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking this. But I do really enjoy the stories, and especially now that they're sort of outgrown that a bit of that sexist view. It's still quite male centric. Like both main characters are male, but that's fine. It's not the end of the world. I can deal with that. But anyway, it's a fun time. I enjoy them. It's cool. And this one's concluded one of the big plot lines in the series, so I don't know where it's gonna go from here because this was book 7, and I think the 10th one just came out, and that doesn't include like the novellas. So yeah, pretty solid read. I liked it. It was fun. So yeah. Okay, and then I said honorable mentions at the beginning, so it's 2 books I've been reading in September, but I hadn't finished them. I finished one. I finished this one, but I will talk about it more my October wrap up. This one I'm still reading. But I did spend a lot of time with them in September, so I thought I'd just quick review. This is an excellent book. It is utterly disturbing and describes everything that is wrong with the human race, but it is masterfully written. It's fantastic. So this is Perfume by Patrick Suskind. I have finished it now, and that's all I will say about this. But I highly recommend this book. But please read maybe trigger warnings online or something because it tackles a lot of, I'm not even joking. It's literally everything that's wrong with humanity. There's some sort of commentary, but it works. So, just saying, it's very disturbing. And then also honorary mention is The Mountain in the Sea by Ray Naylor. This is taking me a very long time to read. I'll talk about it more in the October wrap up, but I went into it, it's completely my fault, I should have known. But it's a sci-fi, which I should have known by that sticker there, but it's a sci-fi. Not only it's a sci-fi, it's a like AI oriented and human consciousness type sci-fi, and that's not really I don't really like reading about that stuff. But there are a lot of good qualities in this book, and I will finish it. I won't DNF it. It's written in a way that's very close to scientific thought. And because I work in science, it's taking me a while. I mean, I have to be in a mood to read extra science and fiction afterwards. And also, it's fiction, but it reads like nonfiction a little bit, and that's throwing me off. But it's a good book. I will talk about it more when I finish it because I'm only halfway through. But I do think it's a good book. It's just not necessarily my cup of tea. But I will finish it. I am enjoying it so far. It's just taking me a while to get through. So yeah, that was the wrap up for this month. So from the books I read, the only one I really, okay, ooh, my camera's giving up on me. Sorry about that. So if we not include the honorary mentions, the only one I would recommend, well, I mean, these might be up your alley, but I like if a friend asked me, give me a book to recommend, I wouldn't give them those. But I will say it's like very cool. It's what's the word I'm looking for? Anyway, it's a really good series. It's a fun time. And it's reminiscent. I think it's also a bit nostalgic to me because it's one of those books that's reminiscent of things like, I don't know, things I used to read, like those series we used to read as kids. That was a series, but also sort of worked as standalone novels, like Nancy Drew or the Hardy Boys, or things like the Roman Mysteries, or like, okay, they do, yeah, stuff like that, or like series like kind of maybe Percy, not really Percy Jackson, but like those types of series. And I don't know, I just felt like an adult. This feels like an adult version, and I think that's just why I'm having so much fun with it. And it is, I honestly think it is really witty. Like I find myself smirking halfway through the book, and I love that. And I do also recommend the Ninth Reign trilogy by Jen Williams. I'm a Jen Williams fan now. So yeah, there we go. 34 minutes to talk about 3 books. Fantastic. So anyway, if you had different thoughts or agree with me, please let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear it. And also please let me know what you read this month, because I might find my new favorite book that way. So anyway, until next time, happy reading and see you next time.